This is Caroline Kennedy with Obama, former President Obama. She's the daughter of John F. Kennedy, and the son, John, went down in a plane crash. He and I believe his wife, he was married to twins, by the way. But what I have to say here is the files are supposed to be the last files of the JFK assassination are supposed to be open this week. President Trump is releasing them unless something about national security is threatened. I want to go back to 1979, June the 23rd, which is my father, Edward the Eighth. Beautiful man. Lied about character assassination. His birthday is June the 23rd. Of course, this was in 79. I got the letter, but they used my father's birthday. Ongoing investigation, national security involved. They took down, my father was taken down by the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers. Joe Kennedy was appointed ambassador to England, 36 till they kicked him out in 46. He was JFK's father. He was appointed by Roosevelt, a Jew. Rockefellers are Jews. It was just after they kidnapped me in 1941 at age 2 and brought me here, and JFK was a part of this. He was flying into the embassy and staying there and even went before Parliament and spoke. Can you believe it? This is when they took down my father. He never married Wallace Simpson. That's one of the doubles. She married a double and they became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor. My father, totally different than the way history portrays him, with character assassination, a decent man who wouldn't go along and take orders from the Illuminati. So they took him out. He was married to my mom always, and they were still alive in 86 when I came to Roanoke, October. My dad was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe from Wisconsin. My mom was a school teacher. So there was an addendum to the forced abdication in December of 36, stating, and it is legal, that if he had an heir, the heir would inherit. The day I was born Victoria II, legal heir to the British Crown. So I am the legal heir. I am Victoria II, the real monarch of Great Britain. Elizabeth, her father, helped kidnap me. George VI, illegal. And I had a sheet where he met in 1939, the year I was born. They were planning my kidnapping at the hot dog festival, they called it, Hyde Park. He was with Roosevelt and Roosevelt's family. And Elizabeth's mother was there, of course. When I was born, it brought my father back into Buckingham Palace. He should have been and was legal to make my decisions and take care of me till I was of age. Now then, they had to kidnap me. Elizabeth was there. She was 15 years old. She knows who my mother is. She knew it was a lie. Wallace Simpson, all of that was a lie. Sir Winston Churchill had an apartment at the White House. He was buddies with Roosevelt and Eisenhower and, I don't know. Well, yeah, all of them knew about me. All the presidents did, and the Secretary of States. That includes Hillary Clinton. So I want to get this up. I hope the truth has been out. I'm going to put this up on me. This is me when I was kidnapped and brought to that family. This was about 1943 it was made, and I was brought there and dropped off in 41 and born in 39. And I'm going to turn it around now. Here, if I can. I keep saying, the truth's already been told. I started putting up on YouTube and Facebook about mind control murders back in 1912, excuse me, and I'm not going to do this one over. Someone accused me of being old and I was getting dementia. No, not that I know of. I'm trying to go back and tell you people something that's affected you all, whether you know it or not. And I think then you wouldn't care about me. Some of you do, some Americans, but basically, the Brits didn't forget me. I hope they haven't. I don't think so. The Germans and some Americans, but most of the Americans find it quite funny that you all could get away with taking down my father and replacing him with a double with Wallace Simpson, your American spy. So I'm going to leave it at that because so much has been done. If it was ever shown what you all did to me personally and my kids, my mom and dad, and to the British, supposed to be your friends, you made them fight against our own best interest. So I'll leave it there. I do want to go to this. This has been told. Mind control murders I wrote about in 78. That was when, well, I started in 76. I lived in 78 for a year. I lived I was doing the book, MD Eliza's Skill. It was about programming and mind control. Programming people to kill, even commit suicide. Makes it look like they killed themselves when they were programmed to do it. Okay, Larry, I was living in Moonraker Apartments. I moved from Treetop to Moonraker in 78. Then I got the letter from the FBI, moved at Laurelwood, just up the street, in 79. And Larry Flint was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia in 78. And I knew that was done in patterns like the ones I was telling about because mind control's invisible. It's hard to prove. And I got the letter from the FBI and that I was almost killed. And I left to go to Abilene, Texas to try to get a job. I was going to stay with my ex-husband's sister, Laura Childers Klein, for a week or so. And if I got a job, I was going to go back and bring my kids out because a lot of things were happening to them. Well, it was okay till I got out there to Mesquite, next to Dallas. And I called Laura, and she said, well, then I was no longer, suddenly overnight, or a couple of nights, I'm no longer welcome. I go back, my apartment within Laurelwood was taken. They had allowed my ex-husband, who they totally knew was not, no way could he take my lease, but he did. They let him. The lease was in his name. He had moved my furniture, and it was within the same complex, and used my security guard. So I had no key, no lease anymore, no furniture, no nothing when I got back. So it was all planned. I do want to skip here because I'm going to skip what they did to me. They almost killed me April Fool Day of 80. Well, that was just after I got back from Texas. That was about a half a month later. I should have died. Anyway, I was stuffed in a car and ended up back in Huntsville, Alabama, NASA, close to Moulton, where they took me, and in 1941, and gave me another name, the name of Peggy Ann Dempsey. Childers, I married Childers, twins, and this is JFK that helped do this. The Illuminati that control your press now. So I was stuffed in the car with Lionel Dempsey against my will in the condition I was in. It was horrifying if it's ever shown what they did to me. And the talk screen that I went to West Paces Ferry for never happened. Everything that was chaos. It was April Fool's Day of 80, and then on Easter I'm back in illegally taken to Huntsville by Lionel Dempsey, mother of the twins, a psychopath, the meanest, the whole family. It's sick. And then I found out in 83 about my kidnapping. But I wanted to say this at the moment. I went to work in 1980 after they stuffed me in the car and the condition I was in. I passed a background check and went to work for Fred Simpson, the Madison County, Huntsville, Alabama District Attorney. Passed the background check, and Simpson, I didn't know at the time, but I know the murders were being done in patterns. And I had found out it was mind control. One of the doctors I worked for had done a heart bypass for a man who was head of a corporation there. And then the next job I had was for that corporation, where I continued to find out about it. And they put chips in heart bypasses and in your body, especially root canals, and they've been doing it for before 1963. Let me clue you, and that can be proven. So I got to, I worked there for Simpson, and the next job I had was for Doyle Duke, as in the Duke of Windsor was supposed to have married Wallace Simpson. So the patterns began to make sense, but they didn't. I knew, and then John Lennon was shot by a program shooter, Mark David Chapman. They've used my son's name also, Mark and Scott, and David's my dad's name, and C is like Childers, the first letter in Childers. And by the way, the wrestler from Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, even come out also and said that John Lennon had been shot by a program shooter. And also there's something in the song Imagine, because this is used, mind control, your imagination is used in there, and it kind of gets me because O.J. Simpson was programmed. And by the way, he came back, I believe, to Vegas the day that the shootings at Paddock, who's programmed, and that can be proven. He's from Mesquite, Nevada. But there's a lot more to it than that. You have to see it put up on a board, your timeline and everything. It's like Crypt. And if you don't have the pieces like a puzzle, you can't put it together. So where am I going with this? Well, I've already told you about a long time ago when I started finding out, before I found out about my kidnapping. I wrote in the book that I was writing, MD A License to Kill, I wrote that the Mansons were programmed. Also that John Kennedy, that was a program. Lee Harvey Oswald was programmed to shoot him. And Robert Kennedy. I mean, you know, Robert Kennedy was just the same kind of SOB John Kennedy is. They've even got his name on the Justice Department building, I believe. He was shot by a program, Sirhan. So I've told all this way back then, not just yesterday. But the reason for the Warren Commission cover-up, and I was living in Warren Apartments in 1980 while I worked for the District Attorney Simpson. So, and then the next job was Doyle Duke, as in Duke. My father's Edward VIII. He was never the double that married Wallace Simpson and became the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. But you can follow me on the patterns there. So I hope and pray. I've already told you about the mind control murders, and they've kept being done. The last one that I put together was the out in Las Vegas. But they're doing one now in Tampa. I worked in Tampa November the 16th when the mayor of Tampa, he became the governor, and then he became drug czar under the Bushes, Martinez. His daughter Jennifer was kidnapped when I went through November the 16th of 81 or 82. She was kidnapped that day or night. You know, I've gone back, and the Martinis worked at the Tampa Hilton when I worked there. I was sales secretary back then for a few months, yeah. So there's some 4 or 5 murders, and they're saying they don't form a pattern. Well, they don't to me either. That's being done in Tampa. This guy that's hooded and all this has gone out and just shooting, supposedly. And I can't. The names don't mean anything to me either. There's no patterns other than the one thing that would tie it together, and that's the one person that was shot that was autistic, and that equals emotions. And then if that's true, if it's done in those patterns, that would tell you who really is responsible for it. But my point in this is, I hope and pray that President Trump can make them release, supposedly unless national security is involved. Well, that was what was in the letter when I got from the FBI, ongoing investigation, national security involved. And I hope it's told. I've already told you, but I'd like to be spread out and told exactly what this country's done to mine, the horror that I have lived here while I watched other people. I came here, I'm a hostage. There's different kind other than money and illegal treaties, and Werner von Braun that came over here at Huntsville, and well, anyway, he was a great man, and he was murdered himself. They just didn't, they took it away from him. From Utah they came in, some doctors and scientists. By the way, Bill Goodson, he was the one in Huntsville in 1980, should have been locked up and throw away the key. And I'm going to say this, I did have the tox screen done finally 9 days later, April Fool Day, and then 9 days later. It was finally done in Huntsville, and my ex-husband got it. They wouldn't let me have it. It showed what they put in me, and I should have died. And it came back from Atlanta Crime Lab, where the girl there had typed my book. And I've already put that up. It should have come back from Alabama, where it was done. So I'm going to leave it there and hope that the truth is finally told. And this is, I'm just going to show Larry Flynn again, because his was a program shooter, and he was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And he says here that I knew who was responsible for his shooting in Lawrenceville in '78.